Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Our next featured author is a talented writer of the captivating new novel, Hound Dogged. Please welcome Rebecca Hendricks. With a passion for storytelling that has spanned her entire life, Rebecca has finally brought her creative and colorful imagination to the page. While her career has consisted of accounting and judicial assistant work, her true life has always been writing. From a young age, Rebecca could be found immersed in her own world, spending countless hours creating stories on her father's antique typewriter or using her own hand to put pen to paper. Now, she brings her passion for writing to readers everywhere with her latest novel, Hound Dogged. Set in the vibrant year of 1958, Rebecca's novel tells the tale of 5 friends who find solace and harmony in the chaos of adolescence, united by their love for rock and roll. As societal forces clash and cultural upheaval takes center, Jan, Stu, Jerry, Patrick, and the newcomer Danny embark on a musical journey that will change their lives forever. With a gift of storytelling and a deep understanding of the human spirit, Rebecca Hendricks brings Hound Dogged to life, captivating readers with their vivid imagery, relatable characters, and timeless themes. Get ready to be transported back to the vibrant era of 1950s rock and roll and embark on an unforgettable journey filled with love, friendship, and the power of music. Let's all welcome Rebecca Hendricks for the Author of the Hour.
Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. Book lovers and bookworms and storytellers, this is an international, vibrant virtual book fair for 2 weeks, and I hope you will enjoy every minute of our conversation with Rebecca Hendricks. I am Ellie Gassetta. I am a Reader's Magnet author. I am the author of One Caregiver's Journey and Generations of Good Food. So let's get started and bring on Rebecca. By the way, we are currently online on all of the social media platforms of Reader's Magnet. So don't forget to follow us and don't forget to subscribe. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Ellie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great.
Tell us a few things about Rebecca.
Well, that introduction was pretty thorough that they said about me. They pretty much hit the nail on the head there. I do spend a great deal of my time writing. I do have a few other hobbies that I do, but The main one is that I love to write and spend my time writing as much as I can. In my free time.
And
That's what I like to do.
what do you like to write about mostly? What kind of stories?
Well, I mean, like Hound Dog, I like to write good uplifting stuff is mostly what I do.
Good for you.
Well, I mean, I've been immersed. I've been immersed in this story now for what, 2-3 years. So,
and how many novels have you written? Do you have any other books other than Hound Dog
that have been published? No. This is my first one that's been published.
It's a expansive library behind you. I was wondering how much of that you've written.
No, I have written. I mean, I've written countless volumes of books. One of my series was 26 books long. So,
my goodness.
As a matter of fact, I recently picked it up. Oh.
Tell me about this BookFest award. You won an award in 2 categories: young adult historical fiction and young adult boys and men fiction. Tell us about that.
It was amazing. It was really awesome. I had been getting the ads about it, and I was like, oh, and I just wasn't like, and I just kind of entered it on a whim, thinking, hey, what have I got to lose? Might as well just see, and it was really awesome. It was a real honor for sure. It's really boosted my self-confidence and everything, and just seeing the gold sticker, because I love to write history. I've written a lot of history pieces, so it was really nice to have that recognition. Was awesome.
So we should tell all of our viewers that this probably is a first for Reader's Magnet. But Rebecca and I are both natives of Colorado, and we both still live in Colorado. So we may have some interesting chats about our state. So tell me about one of your favorite activities. It's called Urban Exploration Adventures. Where do you go? What do you do? Tell me about that.
Well, you living here will probably make you laugh. But we love to go out to the Eastern Plains, because there's a lot of abandoned buildings and abandoned places out there that we like to take pictures of. But my husband, mainly because he's a photographer, likes to take pictures. It's just fun to go out there and see those places. It's a lot. It's really actually a huge thing that a lot of people do it. There's a lot of platforms on Facebook and stuff of those types of pictures. So yeah, that's one of them that we do. We go out to the Eastern Plains, and we've been down south. There isn't a whole lot of stuff in the mountains, but we've pretty much exhausted Colorado. So now we're trying to branch out a little bit and go like Nebraska and stuff, Kansas.
Well, if you go into the back country, like up near Aspen or places, but you got to do it in the summer. There's a lot of abandoned, abandoned mines and abandoned property, that just lots of interesting properties. And in the Southwest, you run into all of the Ute Indian tribe reservations and all of the buildings that they have down there. So that, I would imagine, that would be pretty interesting.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
So I'm not a camper. So tell me where you like to go with your husband and your dog, and what are some of the more memorable camping experiences that you have, and any tips you might have for anybody that wants to come to Colorado and camp.
Well, we have an RV, so it's not like we're in a tent. It's
That
actually
helps.
a very nice, yeah, it's a really nice RV. It has all the comforts of home, actually. So it's like it's like you're
Uh-huh.
driving around a little hotel. We go with our dog, and we go mainly up. There's a place outside of Loveland along the Big Thompson River there called Riverview, where we like to go. That's where we go the most because it's close to things, but yet it's kind of remote, and it's relaxing and very quiet there. Um, most of
Mm-hmm.
my most memorable camping adventures happened when I was little because I went camping a lot with my parents and my sisters, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember those times sitting on my dad's lap and singing campfire songs and all of that. He was a very creative man himself. So I think that's where I got it from. And just, I miss, singing with him around the campfire was one of my most memorable memories of all.
How fun. I I am I would probably be more like you in that I slept on the ground once in a tent. And that was not anything that was, and we were at
Right.
a lake and got and that was, not one of my more memorable
No.
times. But I have been out in an RV, and that's kind of the way to travel if you want to see this state with all of the mountain views and uh, and stay comfortable and safe because we have an awful lot of wildlife in our mountains too.
Yes. 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 So yeah, I wouldn't want just a thin piece of fabric between me and a bear. I'm sorry.
Oh Lord.
I can't imagine being in a tent and having a bear on your campsite. Oh, thank you.
No, it wouldn't be
Uh,
the same tent when the bear left,
no.
that's for sure. Um,
Oh,
so you restore old dolls.
yeah, I
How did
do.
you get into this? How did you get into this hobby, and what do you find the most rewarding about it? I have a friend who was recently the recipient. A relative passed away,
Oh,
um, and gave them all of their old antique dolls. So tell me about
oh wow,
how do
that's
you
cool.
how do you give how do you give life to those kinds of objects?
Well, a lot of those older dolls, I mean, not like the antique ones now. The antique ones are worth a lot of money if they're in good shape. The ones with the bisque
Hmm.
heads,
Hmm.
they go for big money. But like
Hmm.
during the 20s and the 40s, they got more into making the composition dolls, which were made out of, sawdust and glue, basically. And they are more
Hmm.
hardy,
Hmm.
and they were meant to be played with. It was very
Sure.
hard to break one of them. So, and because they're made out of, sawdust and uh, glue, it's easy to, you know, uh you just have to treat them like wood. You have to sand them down and repaint them. And of course,
Hmm.
if they're really damaged, then you have to fill the holes and sand the holes and all of that. So it's just basically taking them and restoring them is basically what it
So, it,
is.
so it's a it truly is a restoration project.
Yeah, it is, and it does. And of course, I got hooked on fixing the ones that were really in bad shape, really bad shape. Um,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I just got into fixing those because it was that satisfaction for me. I like it because for me it's relaxing. It just is, and I just getting a chance to
So
see the transformation.
are their heads the same and made out of the same composition material?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of them were
Okay, so
made better than others, depending on who the company was that made them.
uh-huh.
If it was a low end company, then maybe they weren't so hardy. It also depends on where the doll was. If the doll was in the south, it's very, where it's damp, kind of damp in the air and the humidity and stuff. They tended to, kind of break down quicker than they would
Hmm.
than a doll that was in a drier climate.
Okay. So what are some of the hidden gems or lesser known spots in the state that you think um, some of our friends from outside Colorado should explore?
Well, are you talking about like safe, or I mean not safe, but like where there's a lot of people, where there's a lot of stuff going on, or if
No,
they
I
were
mean,
urban
it's kind of like
explorers?
basically for
I
urban
mean,
explorers, I would say, because
oh,
we would
okay,
both say, if you come to Colorado, you don't want to miss maybe Vail, or you don't want to miss Breckenridge, or some of
right,
the,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, out east for sure. I mean, you're hitting a gold mine out there, because all of those
Really?
abandoned buildings and things like that. Uh,
Uh-huh.
all those abandoned buildings and stuff are out that
Do
way.
you go through them? So when your husband takes pictures of them, do you just look at them, or do you actually go in them
Well,
and see what's in
well,
them
well,
if you can?
a lot of them, yeah, exactly, because a lot of them are on private property. So
Uh-huh.
my husband has very, high end lenses and stuff, so he has a drone also that he can fly over the property and take pictures. So he's fine with standing outside of a fence. He can get a pretty good picture. But yeah, we never go inside if it's private property. Mm-mm.
And so do you ever go to the Western Slope
We
and
have,
travel some
yeah.
of those?
Yeah, we have.
Okay,
We've
some of
gone up there,
those
like, but
communities.
we just haven't found a whole lot up there. There is St. Elmo's, of course, which is one of the
Mm-hmm.
one of the ghost towns, Colorado ghost town that has been kept up and kept really, um, it's really cool up there
Mm-hmm.
to go to St. Elmo. There's also Animas Forks, but Animas Forks is kind of tricky to get to, and you really kind of
Mm-hmm.
almost need a 4-wheel drive to get up there. But once you're up there, it is amazing. I mean, we were in our our SUV, and it was rough going, but it was worth it once we got there. It was something else. That was really cool. That one's kept up too. That one's kept up by the Historical Society as well.
So tell me about your furry friends. Um, what about your dog? You have 2 cats, and
Yeah.
just how?
I,
So you
I,
take your dog with you all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah, she's a golden retriever. Her name is Haley. She's our
Mm-hmm.
baby. She's a baby. She
Mm-hmm.
is 10 years old, and
Oh, bulldog.
a bulldog.
So these are uh, these are questions that are coming in from people.
Oh,
So
okay.
okay, so
I've been seeing them.
Fred and Alexis, hold on the questions, and we'll get to them in a bit. We'll get to them after the hashtags. Okay. All right. So now tell me about so Haley's a golden retriever,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably they're pretty nice dogs.
She is a sweetheart. Everybody loves Haley.
Uh-huh.
She's very mellow. She's very laid back. She always has been her whole life. She's just been a super laid back, mellow dog. She's just really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's a sweetie.
And how about your cats?
Have 2 cats.
You have 2 cats, it says?
Yeah, Oliver and Ginger. Oliver is a silver tabby, and Ginger is a seal point Siamese, and she is the diva of the house.
I'm sure.
She's our little diva. Sure. Yeah.
They rule the roost and the roosters.
Yeah, that's so right.
So let's kind of go back into your hound dog.
Okay.
So you have a background in accounting and judicial assistant work. Did that shape any of your writing process and style? Does that have anything to do with how you write? No.
No, because I've been writing since I was a young girl. And, when I was in high school, or actually I think junior high school, if I want to go back that far. So, yeah, I mean, that never had any, I mean, that's a whole separate world. That's a whole other piece of my life that's just has its own thing. My creative
That's the bread
life
and
is
butter.
something different. Yeah, exactly.
Good. Tell me, let's talk about the inspiration behind Hound Dog. And what can readers expect from it? I mean, it sounds
Well,
really interesting. To me, it sounds like the Beatles. It
oh,
sounds like
really?
the Beatles.
Could
Yeah,
be, yeah.
but
But they were in
because
Britain.
I just read an article. I just read an article today where Ringo Starr, who is now 83, was
I
playing for
know.
another band when he was offered a job to be the drummer for the Beatles.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell me about Hound Dog.
Uh, well, it takes place in America, and it is a small town from
Uh-huh.
Madison. It starts out with 4 members, and um, they grow over time. They get more members. It starts out with a conflict in the band. There's conflict already because one of the members is wanting to take it to the next level. He's wanting to go big. He's wanting to make a record. He's wanting all that. And then his co-founder is just kind of laid back and, I'll take it if I'm there, I'm there. If I'm not, I'm not. He likes to just hang out and have fun. He doesn't want to, he's not interested. He's a very free spirit and doesn't want to have that fame going on thing. And the other two's, talent levels are a lot lower than the other two.
And then so they play in a basement as opposed to the garage where some of these bands all started.
Yeah, actually they start practicing at Patrick's house in his so-called clubhouse, which is basically some boards nailed together and leaned up against the garage. That's kind of where they start out, is at Patrick's house in this little lean-to, if you will.
So as all of this tension then brews, so they get an offer to go big time.
No, they don't. Not in this
right?
book.
It's that.
No, not in this book. It's the other band. Their rival band, yes, has an offer to go big time. As a matter of fact, they're supposed to be making a record.
Okay. So then Danny joins the Hound Dogs, right? But then he also wants to be part of the other band. Okay.
He does not join the Hound Dogs right away. He has an audition with another band who's going big and has a chance to go big, and he auditions with them, and they offer him the position, and he takes it.
Okay.
I don't want to give too much away.
Do the Hound Dogs? So do the Hound Dogs stay small, or do they do some promotional?
Yeah, they stay small. They stay small in this book for sure.
Okay. And then will you do a sequel where they maybe don't stay small?
Yeah, this is book 1 of a series.
And how many books are in this series?
It's probably going to be 4.
Okay. And then by the time you get to book 4, then are you anticipating that they will be out of the basement and will be ready for big time?
Yeah. And I can't say too much.
Oh, yes, you can.
Therein lies the tale, as they say. Therein lies the tale.
Okay, so you mentioned that you spend countless hours writing as a young girl.
Yeah.
What drew you to storytelling, and has that passion evolved over the years?
I mean, I've always loved to write. I would sit in my room and Right. That's what I did. I mean, because I was, um, I have two sisters. They're a lot older than me, and they
Mhm.
don't, they were kind of into, they were just kind of, getting into, boys and stuff, and I was into dolls, So, yeah, so it was just a way for me to kind of have my own little, world going on and things like that.
So your sisters didn't write. Did your mother or father write?
No, but my grandfather did, apparently. My great-grandfather,
Okay.
excuse me. He actually had a
Mhm.
published book. He actually did have a published book, my great-grandmother did. My father was creative in
Neat
other
is
ways.
that?
He was an artist. Both my
Mhm.
sister and my father are artists. And my other sister is an artist as well, just in a different way. They're
Mhm.
all very, very talented people. All of them are. My sister's a painter. My father and my sister were painters, and I cannot draw to save my life. So uh,
Hey,
it's just
that's
astounding.
that's okay. That's okay. Um, so when if our viewers have some questions, we're getting to a part where I think we can answer some of them, and we'll just, if
I
you
would
show it
love
on the
that.
screen, Alexis, if you show it on the screen. Okay, Andrea Richards wants to know, does the Hound Dog's book include stories about your family?
No, no, it's all about them and their journey and their growth. That's what it's about.
Okay, so you didn't fashion it after anybody else. Did you base your characters on in popular boy bands, or did you just come up with them?
Um, yeah, I mean, when you're young, you know, you sorry, when you're young,
That's okay.
you and a girl, we all had, our crushes on the bands, that was a thing. And any boy that held a guitar, you were like, oh yay, how exciting is that? So
Yes,
yeah, I mean,
yes,
I did
yes.
have my influences, but I think the era itself had a big influence on it too, because the birth of rock and
Okay, and
roll was controversial and all of that, which plays a big part in book two. The controversy over rock and roll comes to focus real fast.
okay, and what time period is this?
1958.
So this is in the late 50s.
Yeah.
So this is in the time actually of the Elvis Presley when he was first starting. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
so
he
this
started
is
out
this is
before then. He started out before then,
mm-hmm,
but yeah.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, yeah.
mm-hmm.
It was during his time, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is that gives me something to go back on.
Yeah,
Um,
the birth of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, Fats
mhm.
Domino, those guys.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Exactly.
Wow. Did what's the name? QR wants to know what your cat's name is. Cat's name. Cats. Cats. QR. She has two cats, and one is Oliver,
Olive
and what's the other one? I
Ginger.
remember Oliver. Ginger and
Ginger,
Oliver.
yeah.
QR.
Yeah.
QR has dogs, by the way. Um, so did Colorado does and Laura wants to know what is the actual plot of Hound Dog?
Hound Dog is actually really a coming of age story, and it's about the trials and things that we go through as we're growing up. I think the biggest plot point is probably how they grapple with, growing up and dealing with the situations that arise, like the band that Danny joins, they end up having a huge clash with, and there's a bunch of hoopla that happens over them.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what happens toward the end of the book, is this hoopla comes into. So that's basically what it's about, is becoming, who you are and growing up, and if that answers it good enough.
No, I think it is. I think it's about where you know taking something that's fun for a bunch of kids and then turning it into something that could be
Yeah.
bigger. Yeah, and it is. They're
And
coming of age. It's just growing up.
Yeah, because like I said, the one member really wants it to be big, to go big.
Uh-huh.
And then the other member's like, I don't want to do that. That's not what I want. I just want to have fun.
Okay. Okay, Rebecca, we're going to do a series of hashtag words on the screen, and you just say whatever comes to your mind. So let's go with hashtag music. What do you think of when you think of music?
I love music. I listen to all kinds of different music. Anything. I do listen to some new stuff, all the way back to the 20s and 30s, 40s. I think I grew up with a lot of music in my house. My parents love, my dad was into a lot, and so was my mother. And so I've always liked music. I love to dance, especially when I was younger, and I had the body I could dance with. But yeah, but I love dancing. I love everything about music. It just is my happy place. And I get a lot of ideas, a lot of book ideas, a lot of story ideas when I'm when I'm listening to music, for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Next hashtag, camaraderie.
Just having, that special group of friends that you can hang out with and be with, and that accept you no matter what, and you can always lean on them and have them be there for you and everything. That's what I think, anyway. That's what I think of when I think of camaraderie.
Oh, that's okay. How about hashtag rock and roll?
The 50s. I love the 50s. I love the 50s. I love the 50s rock and roll. Of course, I love a lot of other stuff too, like I said, but I really like the 50s. It was just really upbeat and fast. And if you ever watch any of the old, movies where they jitterbugged, it was just really, really an awesome time. I do like I like the stuff from the 60s and the 70s as well, 80s. I'm dating myself, but yeah, I mean, I like all types, but I really like the old 50s rock and roll a lot.
I like, and I have to tell you, I like the 70s.
Yeah, I do too.
I do too. I like the 70s. I like the 50s, but I think I was too young to appreciate any of them. And then the 60s was crazy time.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
I kind of agree with Zenke that the rock and roll is you're transported sometimes back to every strum of that guitar. That is true. Next hashtag, friendship.
I think true friendship, like the friends that you have that will be there for you no matter what and support you. And, the person that you can totally be yourself with, and it is all, and there's no, it's just unconditional love and understanding between you. You could call them up in the middle of the night and they would be there for you. They would do whatever they could to come and help you. It's that kind of thing. That almost makes you like a sister or a brother to somebody. And that's what I tried to capture in the book, was that kind of friendship for the hound dogs.
Do you have friends that you have had for a long time?
I do. My oldest friend, I've known her since I think she was 4 and I was 6. She
Wow.
currently lives in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't get to see her very often. But it's when there's certain things and thanks to social media now that you can share with each other and just kind of be like, remember when this and that, and because
Yeah.
you get all these pictures and everything. So
And
yeah.
let's do our last. Okay, so Jill wants to know: were you able to attend a boy band concert at least once? Have you been to concerts?
I have been. I have been to concerts. When I was younger, I didn't get to go to concerts because it just wasn't a thing for my group of friends that I had, and my mother probably wouldn't have let me go anyway. So I didn't. I think my first concert was in the 80s, and I went and saw Weird Al. Woohoo! But um, I did get to see Joe Bonamassa last year at Red Rocks. He's a blues guitarist.
At Red
Excellent,
Rocks.
excellent blues guitarist. He is amazing blues guitarist.
And for
That's
those
the
of you
last
who
one.
may or may not know, Red Rocks is an outdoor amphitheater. So when they start
It's
strumming
amazing.
on those guitars, you could probably hear it 4 miles away.
And it was
Last
pouring
hashtag is
rain. It was pouring rain too.
last hashtag is fame. Fame.
Well, yeah, fame's an interesting one, because you think that I think we tend to get too wrapped up into the glitter portion of it. If I could be
Mm-hmm.
famous, I would be happy. I would have everything I ever wanted, and I would just be, in the dough, in the money, and I would just be, But then when you sit back and look at how it affected so many people in a negative way, like Elvis Presley, and some of those people back then, it wasn't easy for them to handle it and grapple it. And that is actually one of the topics that the series will cover, is what that looks like. And as a matter of fact, there is actually a little bit of it in Hound Dog itself about handling that little piece of fun
Mm-hmm.
there.
Well,
And is it worth sacrificing yourself and your dreams for?
well, I think that in and of itself is a question. Alexis, do we have more questions for? And the question from Amanda is: will the boys' friendship grow even more as the story progresses? As they get
Oh
older,
yes.
do they
Oh yes.
grow?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes, very much. And it's going to grow in ways that nobody is going to expect too. I don't think anybody's going to
So
see it coming.
Andrea's favorite band is the Backstreet Boys. Who's yours?
Boy band, I'm sorry, but I'm not really sure. I like the hold on a minute, if I can remember their name. Oh my goodness, the Brothers.
Oh,
Oh my
there's just
gosh.
all kinds of.
They're more recent. They're like, there's 3 of them. They're all brothers. They had a show on Disney for a while. I like them.
I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Can't think of their name right now.
What do you think about the current age where more young people are getting into new and unfamiliar bands that look and sound totally different from the ones you were used to?
Well, I think that every generation had, has had their own type of music, had their own thing. And,
Mm-hmm.
nobody understood it, especially the older generation. Nobody understood rock and roll. They had a really hard time accepting it. And then, of course, then disco came along, and that was, not, and then there was,
New.
the new wave
New.
stuff in the 80s. There was the grunge
And then
stuff
there
in the
was the acid rock.
90s. There's all of that. And the stuff today is just, it's, it's just a different drummer. If the
It's
kids
hip hop.
today, yeah, if the kids today, I mean, if that's their jam and that's what they enjoy, then, the only thing I really don't like about some of it is it's so negative, and some of those lyrics are so violent and just really hateful. And I don't think that's good for people to listen to, because I think that just promotes more of the same. And I don't think that's so good. And I don't really want to listen to that. It's like in the 60s, 70s, let's make love. Now it's like, let's make the war. I mean,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I just, I don't, I just,
No,
that's not,
I
don't
think you're
understand.
exactly right. I think we went from the big band era, the Glenn Miller and all the big bands, and the real smooth, the smooth music that our parents probably danced to, at Elitch's, by the way, that our parents probably danced to. Yes,
The
yes, at the
Charleston,
Trocadero Ballroom. Well,
oh
we rode
yeah, the
all the rides,
Charleston,
and we rode the rides, and we had fun at the amusement park. They were in the ballroom, the outdoor ballroom, dancing to the big bands. But then we went to rock and roll, and I think by and large people did accept the Elvis Presley and the Hound Dog. Um, and then the Beatles came on, and that was a whole new mania. And then you started to get into the and I would say bands like Three Dog Night and some of the older bands, the Eagles. But then you got into a lot of the acid rock and with the hip hop. And I think you're absolutely right.
Heavy metal,
that,
death metal.
And I think you're absolutely right. Martin wants to know, what inspired you to start your novel in 1958?
I love the time period. And I think it was, I love the 50s. Yeah, I do. I love everything about the 50s. As a matter of fact, I'm reading a lot of books about, a lot of fiction from the 50s, books about the 50s. So I loved the time period. I liked the fact that it was the birth of rock and roll, and just like an easier time, a funner time to write about growing up, and, going to the movies, and the first time, you like the girlfriend piece, going to a date, going out on a date to the, to the arcade, or walking hands, or down the street, or going to the lake, and just that kind of stuff. I really liked the backdrop, especially with it being in a small town.
Well, and it was after, and this is kind of a historical piece, but it was after World War II, when things were a lot different than they are today, and it was more familiar and more laid back, I guess would be a better. So, what was your most memorable moment that's music related?
I think being a teenager, I influenced me the most, and listening to all the different types of music. I've always loved music. I think when I was young, and of course now too, I still love to listen to the old music, 60s, 70s, stuff like that. I still love it. And it's probably, people think, probably I'm goofy, but I don't care. I like listening to this, 60s, 70s stuff, I like disco.
During that time, how difficult it was for society to understand the uniqueness of rock and roll.
Exactly. That really comes into play, because there was a lot of bans going on. People started to ban it. They said it was the devil's music. It was terrible. Elvis came up against so many problems just because he was a very exuberant person and he just liked to move. And it's like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? What is he doing? You know, and it's like, let's ban him off of the TV. I mean, you know, he got in trouble because he was being himself, I believe, on the Mill Burton show, or okay, that's it, Milton Berle, and you know, he got in trouble on his show, and so it was like Milton Berle got slammed with mail the next day, like, oh my gosh, how can you have this person on your show? It was abhorrent, it was terrible. So then he wasn't going to be allowed to be back on TV, but I guess somebody let him come on their show, but he had to wear a tux and he had to sing to an actual hound dog, an actual dog. And he couldn't move. So and for somebody that loves to move, that's hard. So
would you ever compose a song?
I have.
You have?
I have. Now write the actual music to it. I wrote the lyrics, I guess I should say. I haven't I can't play the guitar. But I can hear the tune in my head.
So the idea of a band forming in the basement is classic, but you add the fresh twist with the internal conflicts and the external pressures they face. Yes, you do.
Yeah, because a lot of, you know, some of the band, and each, I guess pretty much each of them has their own, like, personal conflicts that they're going through in their life. You know, like Stu lives with his mother and his little sister, and his mother's kind of bitter, if you will. I don't know. She wants him to get out of the house and get a job. And, you know, then there's Jerry, who is in an abusive situation at home. His stepfather is a horrible man. So he spends a lot of time sleeping in the park or sleeping where he can because he doesn't like to go home. And so there's his conflicts, and, you know, so there's other pieces. And then of course there's some romance in there. There are girlfriends, there are girls running around. I hope so. Kind of stuff. Yeah, there's romance.
How do you relate yourself to the characters that you have built in your book? Do you relate anything about yourself into your characters?
I think I can relate to them because I feel like I know what it's like to have a dream, to want to follow it, and to try to and then being held back. Feel like you're getting held back. You need to get a job. You need to learn some skills. You need to, you know, push that stuff down because that's not going to make you any money. You know, that's nice that you do that, but don't think that's ever going to make you any money. So you need to do this and you need to do that.
Well, there was probably a time.
Yeah, you know, probably good sage advice because, yeah, you do. Not everybody's cut out to, you know, for the road, I'll tell you, or to do what some of those bands went through, you know, like the Beatles going to Germany, and in this country there, they didn't even speak English, and like sleeping in the back of this club that smelled bad. And they were like basically sleeping on top of each other, eating milk and cornflakes every day. I mean, but, you know, I guess whatever you go through to make it happen.
Well, there was a time when girls really didn't have their choice of what they wanted to do. I mean, you could be a secretary, you could be a nurse, you could be a teacher, you could be a housewife, but you couldn't be a fireman, you couldn't weld, you couldn't go play in a band, you couldn't climb a ladder and fix a house, you know. It was just,
well, yeah, and you were brought up to believe, okay, yeah, you can be a teacher until you get married. You can have these goals and then until you get married. Then you take care of a house and you have a baby. You have babies.
then you have family. What year did you start appreciating rock and roll as a culture, and what's the trigger point to this that happened there?
I think probably as a culture, I think it's probably started with when I decided to put Hound Dog into 1958, and I started looking into the roots of it. I mean, I kind of knew, but I did a lot of research on how the birth of rock and roll really happened. I mean, I had a clue, but I didn't really realize a lot of it, where it really did come from, and the struggle that the African American people and communities went through, just period, in that time, because they were dealing with segregation and all of that other stuff. And here they are introducing a new music, and it just was tough. It was tough.
Well, and then you go in, and then it's interesting that you bring that up, because then shortly after, here comes Motown.
Yes. But I think people were more accepting at that point, because then we had gotten past
absolutely.
segregation and all those other problems.
Those were some of the most wonderful. I mean, those are some of the most wonderful artists and talented people that we enjoy in the music era.
Definitely.
And they changed a lot of the music too.
Yes, they did.
You had the Supremes, and you had Whitney Houston, and you had
Earth, Wind and Fire. Earth, Wind and Fire.
Aretha Franklin.
Stevie Wonder. Franklin,
Stevie Wonder. So you had a lot. I mean, I think that between the 50s and probably the middle of the 70s, the changes to music were just dramatic. Do we have some more questions? We got another 10 minutes here.
I saw a lot of them going
Alexis,
by.
You got some. Yeah, some have gone by. So does Hound Dog include stories about your family, or is it a fiction? Is it fiction?
It's fiction. Purely fiction. Purely came out of my little head.
So what do you listen to what do you listen to when you want to listen to music? Do you listen to everything, or do you have a particular genre you listen to?
Yeah. A lot of it sometimes depends on my mood too. Or if I'm wanting to write or get some ideas for Hound Dog, it's always good to listen to the 50s. But I predominantly listen to rock and roll. I've really gotten to the blues lately. I really enjoy listening to the blues a lot too.
Do you like jazz?
It's okay. It's not my favorite thing, but yeah, I listen to it. I mean, there's the real jazz. Country? There's real jazz, and then there's smooth jazz, and real jazz is kind of different. Yes, I love country. I listen to country. I do listen to country quite a little bit, actually.
Country. I mean, where we live, there's a lot of country music.
Yeah, I like country. I do. Anything from back in the day to forward. Just wondering.
So are you a modern or traditional writer? What's your writing style?
So what is that? Do you know what that means, Ellie? Because I don't know if I really know what that means.
I would have to say I don't. I would say to you, my style of writing in my caregiving book, because it's a journal, is basically conversational. It's to talk on a conversational basis. I would say you're more of a traditional writer with kind of maybe a non-traditional way of getting your story out.
Well, it's clean. There's not a lot of cussing. No, there is some, but not.
But but you're traditional in that you have a plot. You have a plot for your characters, and you follow the story as opposed to jumping around. So you're pretty traditional in that regard.
Yeah, I am traditional then. Yeah, then that's what I am.
Okay. Was there a moment of personal triumph or satisfaction? Oh, as a woman, was it challenging to write a novel in a male perspective?
No.
She has a husband.
No. Well, I just take it from the perspective that, you know, it even back then, you know, I mean, yeah, it was tough on women, but I think it was tough on men too. You know, there was a lot of pressure on them to, you know, you need to get, you know, out there, get a career going on. You need to make a lot of money. You need to make a decent living, and you need to take care of your wife and your family. I mean, you've got your wife at home and your house and everything else, and you're responsible for all of that. But writing about the boys was easy because they're having just the same type. I feel like a lot of the same troubles that the girls have.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
I've always enjoyed writing about them. I just always have. I've been told I do pretty good. Well, actually, I won an award for it.
You won a what? Excuse me?
I've actually won an award for it, so I guess I do it pretty well.
No, you've won it. Right. You know what? When you have won an award for a book, and my caregiving book has won 3. It makes you feel pretty darn good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Congratulations.
You
yeah,
as
that's
well.
awesome.
I mean, thank you. I mean, it makes you, and you're right. When you see that gold sticker, it does have a very, very special meaning, and brings it all of your work and all of what you went through and all of what you wanted to convey. It comes home. It comes home.
Well, yeah, and especially,
tell me, Rebecca,
I think it's awesome that you got one because the topic that you wrote about is very hard and not easy for a lot of people to do. So kudos to that.
Well, it wasn't as hard as the 10 years that I spent giving care to my mother as a sole caregiver.
I know. I can imagine on that.
Tell me, are you on social media other than we have your website here? Are you on Instagram or Facebook or any of the others?
I am on both Facebook and Instagram. Rebecca Hendricks author. They're both under Rebecca Hendricks author.
Okay, and we invite you all to go in and take a look at that. Are you doing any live streaming from your booth for the Festival of Storytellers?
my next one is next Friday. I haven't been able to do a whole lot of them because I work full time, unfortunately. So, sure. But yeah, my next one is next Friday, and also the second book in the series is coming out this summer.
The second book on the Hound Dog series?
Yeah, it's coming out this summer, yes. As a matter of fact, it's just now getting it formatted, and the cover is getting done on it.
And what is its title?
Hard Dog's Night.
Hard Dog's Night.
Yep.
Huh. Sounds like a title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like a title from an old song.
Yeah.
So, where are your books available?
You can get it on Amazon. Both the ebook and the paperback are on Amazon. You can get the paperback off of Barnes and Noble.
Do you have your book handy? Hold it up so
I do. I have it right here.
There you go. Look at that. It looks just like what's on the. It looks just like what's up there.
Yeah, it's also on thrift books and everything else. So yeah, thank you, Ellie.
Thank you, Rebecca. And that, I thank you for this hour. We're awesome. Coming down to our last 30 seconds. I'd like to invite all of you to join the authors' booths and go to festivalofstorytellers.com and look at all of the what's playing and what's out there. And there's so many authors with their stories to tell. And I want to say thank you from Reader's Magnet for this opportunity. And remember, at Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Thank you all. And thank you, Rebecca. Bye for now. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the Festival
of Storytellers.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher. It is about us, the authors.